giving in return. Putin just met with the North Korean leader. We know that North Korea and Russia are coming closer and closer, also signed the defense pact. So this demonstrates how what happens in Europe matters for Asia, Korea, and what happens in Asia and Korea matters for Europe. So we are looking at how we can work more closely together, including when it comes to expanding together defense industry cooperation. You have advanced, South Korea has advanced defense industry. I think there's great potential to do more together on technology, on cyber, and also we are looking into how we can have better systems and methods for exchange of information, because that will help to strengthen the security both of South Korea and of NATO allies. So we are working on a wide range of areas. We will agree also some flagship projects to further expand the cooperation between South Korea and NATO.
Greta Karvala, Iltalehti Finland. What is the main reason that Ukraine cannot be NATO member yet? And if I may, is Russia emerging threat to NATO's eastern flank, and can we expect that war escalates?
We don't see any imminent military threat against any NATO ally, and Russia is now fully preoccupied with the war against Ukraine. And they have moved a lot of forces also from along the border between Russia and Finland down to Ukraine. So we don't see any imminent military threat against any NATO ally. What we see is, of course, a constant threat of cyber attacks, of sabotage, of different types of hostile actions against NATO allies, but short of military attacks, because Russia is so preoccupied with the war in Ukraine. But of course we need to be vigilant. We monitor closely what Russia is doing, and NATO allies are investing heavily in new modern defense capabilities. And just the fact that we now have Finland and Sweden as members, that has made NATO stronger and Finland and Sweden safer. Finland brings very capable forces, well-equipped, well-trained forces to our alliance, and the fact that Finland is now a member makes it also, of course, easy to do defense planning in the Nordic area, but also with the Baltic countries. So that was the second question. What was the first?
Ukraine can be...
No, well, so, as you know, to have a new ally, to invite a new ally, we need consensus. All allies agree that Ukraine will become a member, but it's too early to say exactly when that will happen. What I can say is that we are moving together with Ukraine closer and closer to NATO membership, and we do that by concrete actions, because Ukraine's membership is of course partly about the language, the wording. We will agree later today in the NATO declaration about membership for Ukraine, but it's also very much about the concrete actions we are taking to move Ukraine closer to membership. And the fact that we now will have a NATO command with 700 people based in Germany at the NATO command there, but also at hubs in the eastern part of the alliance to facilitate training and security assistance to Ukraine. That will give a stronger NATO framework basis for what we do, and also help to move Ukraine closer to our membership. The long-term financial pledge, everything we do on interoperability. When NATO allies are delivering F-16s, for instance, to Ukraine, we also deliver training, doctrines, and all of that are examples of how we are moving Ukraine closer to NATO and making it easier for them to become a member when the time is right.
Thank you, Elina Kervinen for Helsingin Sanomat, Finland. Secretary General, you mentioned the Russian sabotage campaign. Just yesterday we read that US military bases across Europe were placed on heightened alert because of a possible threat. What concrete is NATO doing to prevent this kind of actions, and what will be the message from this summit? Thank you.
I will not comment on that specific incident. It's correct that the U.S. has increased alert levels for some of their bases, but it's for the U.S. to comment on that specific incident. What I can say is that we have seen a pattern of increased Russian hostile acts against NATO allies over the last months, organized by the Russian security services. And this is about sabotage, this is about cyber attacks, this is about arson attempts, this is about different types of malign actions against NATO allies. And what NATO has done, and what we are doing is that, first of all, we are stepping up awareness. We are making allies aware of that these are not standalone incidents, but this is part of a Russian campaign to try to intimidate us from supporting Ukraine. So increased awareness. Second, more intelligence sharing. The fact that we now also have arrests in UK, in Poland, in Germany, in some of the Baltic countries, all people who are accused of standing behind these different sabotage or malign activities, is to some extent also the concrete outcome of exchange of intelligence between NATO allies. So stepping up the sharing of intelligence is a second thing we do. And thirdly, it's also important to realize that what NATO does to help allies improve their cyber defenses is important, because much of this is taking place in cyberspace, and also to counter disinformation, because it's a variety of different hostile actions, ranging from disinformation to concrete sabotage attempts. We are vigilant, we are monitoring closely what Russia is doing, and of course many of the actions have to be taken by individual allies. The arrests that have taken place across the alliance are taken by national police authorities, and there are ongoing legal processes across the alliance.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you.